How do you keep up with all the new AI tools? It feels like new features and products appear every day, and it's hard to stay on top of everything while making sure I'm using the best possible tech stack.
That's another great question. And it's really easy to, if you're a runner, it's really easy to try to always buy the newest gear and the newest equipment.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, the way you get better at running is by putting in the reps and putting in the work. It doesn't really matter what kind of shoes you have. At the end of the day, especially if you're early on, if you're running with Nikes or on clouds, doesn't really matter. Just put in the reps. You don't need to have the newest tools. You don't need to have the newest equipment to have a good software or business. Um, there's a lot of people that build things. I mean, there's the amount of WordPress websites right now, which I think WordPress is an amazing product, but there are so many newer, more advanced technologies out there that, or like, let's look at Microsoft. Let's go back to an early example. I was talking before the podcast with Ben and Keith. I have a really good friend who visited me, who works for Morgan Stanley. They are using Microsoft 2011. They have not iterated. This is one of the most advanced companies, highest revenue companies in the entire world, and they're using Microsoft 2011. You do not have to be on top of the brand new, most optimal AI trends. Just figure out something that you know can work, that you can get comfortable with, and figure out the solutions based on that. And as time goes on, you'll iterate and you'll learn more and you'll figure out how to optimize. But you know, that's another really easy way for you to kind of get caught up in having to try the newest things, and then you get the paralysis by analysis and never really start. Just find anything and just build with it. And if you realize something out there is better and you want to try it, you can, but just try. It doesn't matter. You can use the ChatGPT 3.0 and still create great products.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's spot on. What about some of the specific platforms that you think are the most important right now? That kid said, "Hey, what AI platforms do you all suggest?"
That's a great question. I think it really depends on where you kind of target the niche. We saw it today. Disney just announced a partnership with OpenAI, and they're doing a Sora collab where you're actually
Wow.
going to license out the Disney princesses and be able to actually do generation. They're going to get paid licensing on that. And so, like, for video generation, I think Sora is kind of the easiest one to be able to create really simple prompts. If you wanted to do more like more complex video generation, I think like VO3 is really powerful. I mean, you can actually build, ads based on that for photos. Nano Banana, which is a Gemini uh, LLM output service through Google, is really, really powerful, really strong. And then if you wanted to kind of do like app development, this is another really simple thing for people too. Everyone has a website at this point, or a lot of people have websites. What a lot of people don't have is they don't have apps. And a lot of people like the idea of having an app. Someone could download something right to their phone, manage everything, and people will pay a lot of money for apps. Long time ago, you could charge 25, 30, $40,000 with apps. You can now use a software like Lovable or a software called Anything. And with just a few prompts, you can turn any website into a high performing mobile friendly app that can then be in the app store for people. And so even just providing a solution like that is a super powerful thing that people, will pay a lot of money for. So, there's a ton of things out there. And then, just from a consumer standpoint, consumer output, I still think ChatGPT is the best. I think, just the ease of use, the prompting and the output is really, really powerful.
What are some of the hacks or ways that you use ChatGPT that you feel like the average person might not necessarily know about?
So it's interesting. I like to cross over different software. So like, for instance, if I'm using like Perplexity, or if I'm using a Gemini, I'll actually use the other LLMs to create the prompts for me, because and I think what a lot of people don't talk about too is the next frontier of the finance jobs, in my humble opinion, is actually going to be prompting. I think people who are able to prompt well are going to do unbelievably well, and there's a ton of money in it, because you have to think of these these LLMs are just the strongest, most powerful supercomputers, and you have to figure out how to harness that power well. And so being able to prompt to get really what you want is super important. So like, let's say I'm using Gemini, I will go into ChatGPT and I will ask it the question, I'm about to prompt Gemini, this is what I really want done. Can you help me create a prompt for this? It will create the prompt for you, then you paste it into the other one. And that way, these AIs know each other a lot better than we do, right? And they kind of understand how those systems work and that modeling works. So being able to create a prompt in one and then paste it into the other one, I think helps a lot with output and you know what you want to get done actually getting done.
Yeah, the prompting is massive. So for more context, Sam, I've built multiple software products for the last 2 years, and I've been somewhat involved with the development process. And so, Keith, you gave a great point earlier in terms of you just need to learn the foundational knowledge in terms of like what questions to ask. So, starting anything is really important to start doing that because you start to see different things that you didn't see before. And it all makes sense once you've been around it enough. But I will say that the prompting is such an important thing. And it is a skill that takes time and reps. But the hack that he just said about using another LLM to help you structure that thought is so important because one of the biggest mistakes for why people think that AI is so hard to use is because the first prompt was bad. And so then everything off of that is so much more difficult. Where if you had started on a good foundation, you would have gone down the right path and had way less hiccups. For one product that we built, we started from a not the best foundation and it made it legitimately like 10 to 100 times more difficult from fixing the wrong starting point.
Spot on, spot on. And even using like a solution now like Cursor, never
Mhm.
before in history have we ever been able to create things without actually understanding how to code, right? Like
Yeah,
I don't know what your technological expertise is, your coding expertise is, but I mean, you probably have experience with these things. You can literally have zero base at all, and in like 15,
totally.
20 minutes, actually have something that is like, oh my gosh, I built this. And
Yeah.
so, but being able to use these other softwares to be able to help you kind of guide you through that process, it's like the best teacher or coach you could ever have.
And that's another thing too, right? Whereas you have a coach 24/7. So if you're trying to learn a new field, you can literally just say, as a novice, like, what don't I know? Because a lot of times people don't start because they don't even know the first question to ask. You don't even have to know the question. You can just say what you're trying to achieve, and it will give you the questions to ask.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I saw that comment pop up there just a second ago about uh, building the MVPs. That's exactly right. You don't have to understand these things. And what's yeah, there you go. And that's exactly kind of what I've been saying in way too many words this entire time. Never
Yeah.
before have we been able to actually do things by literally just saying we want to do things, and then the things get done for you. We
Yeah,
have
it's
the
crazy.
ultimate assistant ever. And so that's why, it's really easy to push back on AI and be scared about where AI is going. And my mom tells me all the time about how she's terrified about where AI is going. And we can be resistant to it. But to what Ben said a little while ago, humans have never gotten in the way of technological innovation or progress. And so this is probably not going to be the first time in history that we stand in the way of that. I think it's a lot more important, especially as an individual, to try to embrace that and figure out a way where you can provide value for yourself and your life. And it's really easy to get dark about where AI is going, and think to yourself, okay, it's going to take all these jobs, it's going to lose everything. I think, to some extent, some of those lower level jobs, unfortunately, probably will inevitably go away. But what a lot of people don't also realize is that these smart people who are creating a lot of value and are pioneers in their industries, they actually become worth a lot more. And so, we look at like attorneys. It's really easy right now to be able to get um, memorandums drafted up or documents drafted up in ChatGPT, and people are like, oh my gosh, my brother's in law school, for example. And people are freaking out that they might not have a job soon. But that lawyer, what people don't realize, that lawyer who right now is billing $5,000 an hour can take all of his knowledge, can put it into an LLM, can train an LLM on all that information, and now all of a sudden this lawyer has a assistant that is literally him, that is going to be able to provide all the same information with the same output, with the same thought process, and this can go from niche to niche. So someone like Keith, who's an absolute financial whiz, is able to put all of his information, all of his knowledge into an LLM. And now there's a Keith 2.0. And down the road, Keith 2.0 can then license that information out. And then he can get, 5,000 people to pay him $50, $100, $1,000 a month to have access to Keith 2.0. So whenever they have any financial questions or want to learn more about bonds or want to do anything, can now access Keith while Keith's on the beach or he's in Bangkok or he's doing whatever he's doing. And so, the real value and the long-term use case for this, I think, is people that will take the time to be experts in their niche or provide value actually become worth a lot more than they would have otherwise.
Yeah, I think it'll create a ton of entrepreneurs
It's exactly
as
right.
well.
Yeah.
Like my one buddy that comes to mind, he always wanted to start a business, but he'd ask me 4,001 questions instead of starting. And now he can get them all the answers from one place. Like it was awesome. He sent me his business plan the other day that ChatGPT had made for him. And now he's just going to go through and knock off those things because everyone who's never done something before, they always think it isn't that simple, but it is really just a series of steps. But you have to figure out what those steps are, and ChatGPT or whatever can help you do this.